I like learning new things and I like trying new things, but I hated being in an institution that was designed to tell me what to do. It comes down to me not wanting to do anything other than what I want to do. It was so easy to buy something that had demand. I would have the supply. I would buy it at a lower price than I would sell it at. And I made more money doing that. Welcome back to another episode of The Real Entrepreneur. Today is January 12th, 2024 at 9:41 Central Standard Time. Real Entrepreneur. This is where we're going to be discussing topics. I'm going to try and share whatever I can with you guys that is helping me, has helped me, currently helping me, things I'm going to be trying out, things we're doing that are working, things we're doing that are not working. And just try and share as much information and knowledge and experience as I possibly can. So today we have another question. When did you know it was time to become a full-time entrepreneur? So my experience as an entrepreneur goes back to when I was a little kid. And it really, for me, it comes down to one thing, ultimately. And it's probably not a great character trait necessarily. I don't, necessarily like this character trait in other people. For myself, it comes down to me not wanting to do anything other than what I want to do. So as a kid, I never wanted to follow instructions. I just absolutely hate somebody telling me what to do. The instant somebody tells me what to do, I don't know, it creates this extremely uncomfortable feeling deep inside myself. And so that's really where it all started for me when I was a young kid. I never wanted to have a job. I never wanted to do what my grandparents or my parents or my sister or any of these people did or anybody around me with going to college, getting a career, having a job. I didn't really like school. I like learning new things and I like trying new things, but I hated being in an institution that was designed to tell me what to do. I just really disliked that and still do and always have. And so that's where it really started for me of wanting to do my own thing. It started for me with selling drugs and selling weed when I was a little kid. It was so easy to buy something that had demand. I would have the supply. I would buy it at a lower price than I would sell it at. And I made more money doing that than I did in school. Obviously, didn't make any money in school. Didn't really learn anything in school. Other than I really learned how to manipulate teachers in school, which has been a good thing in terms of communication skills, people skills, and things like that. But, I started selling weed and things when I was, 13, 14, and did that from 14 through, 21 until I got sober and stopped breaking the law. But that's where it really started for me was I had a job too because my family really wanted me to get a job and be a productive member of society. So I worked at this place that we do business with today that makes t-shirts and banners and signs and things like that. But I worked at this place and I was making minimum wage, $7.25 an hour. I worked part-time because I was in school. I was in high school. And I don't know, maybe made like $200 a week when at the same exact time I was selling weed and I could make, $200 an hour. So profit. And so I just, I was selling weed the entire time that I was in school and had this job. And I only had this job just to silence, noise from the outside to allow me to continue to do what I wanted to do. But I hated having a job. It was a waste of time. $7.25 an hour. I never enjoyed, trading my time for money like that. I never enjoyed following rules. I never enjoyed people telling me what to do. And so that's where it started for me was just as a young kid, not wanting to do what everybody else was doing and not wanting anybody to tell me what I could or could not do. So the question was, when did I know it was the right time to become an entrepreneur? I mean, I always have been, right? I've ultimately just, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's not like I calculated the decision on when was the right time to do it. I had that job then I got sober when I was 21, and I could no longer sell drugs, and I didn't want to. I had changed my life, and I had formed a relationship with God and wanted to live by different morals and things, and breaking the law was one of those things that I no longer wanted to do. But when I got sober, I worked at Firehouse Subs, another thing, $8.25 an hour. I did get a raise about 12 months into $8.50, 25-cent raise. And even then, I was not making any money, but I didn't really need to. I didn't really have any expenses. I lived at a sober living house. I managed that sober living house, so I got to live there for free. And what I did from like 21 to 23, when I was working these jobs, I had saved up all my money that I made from these low-paying jobs. But ultimately, what I was doing is I was really just trying to figure out what I was going to do, where I was going to go. I had no intention of any of these things becoming my career, nor was I looking for like a career job at all. But I was looking for what legal business was I going to start, because I knew that I could go. At the time I was living in Fort Worth, I knew that I could drive to West Campus here in Austin. I could buy a couple of pounds of weed and I could sell that and easily double or triple my money anytime I wanted to. But I was no longer going to do that. So I was looking for legal businesses that I was going to start in order to be able to do that. But I didn't really need these jobs. However, it was a productive thing for me to do versus, sit around the house all day. I was really going through a spiritual transformation at the time. I mean, from 12 to 21, I was under the influence of drugs and alcohol every single day. So by the time I got sober, it was really like I was trying to relearn how to live. I remember, walking outside in the morning and, it's still dark and seeing the moon and just almost, I'm 21 years old and almost like that's the first time I experienced that in my life. And so little things like that, I was having to just really kind of, rebuild myself and restart my life. But it was a really great time to try things out. I had these jobs, not Firehouse Subs, even though I did explore kind of what it would look like to buy one of those franchises and open up that store. But I did that. Then I worked at a country club. Then I worked for an oil and gas company. And then I worked for a company that bought and resold electronics and, hard drives and computer equipment and things like that. But each one of those jobs, specifically the oil and gas and the computer parts resale business, I was really just kind of studying different businesses. I didn't need the jobs at all. I had money. I was going to school at the time at ACC. I was really just trying to figure out what I was going to do. But anyways, I got that discount electronics store. At this time, I had already started investing with Matt. I think we bought our first single family house at that time. Maybe not right then, but we were investing in stocks together. So I was investing my money. I was, kind of multiplying it that way. But anyways, I got fired from the electronic company because I asked my boss, his name was RJ. I asked him, hey man, because I was studying this stuff, they were paying me like 10 or 11 bucks an hour, and it really didn't mean anything. It was just kind of something productive for me to do versus doing nothing. But I was studying what this business was doing. I was getting paid to learn the business. And, we would buy these electronics. It was just like selling drugs. We'd buy these electronics in bulk. They'd come in via the pallet. We'd break the pallet down. We'd pull out the good parts. We'd trash the trash parts. We'd relist them on eBay or anywhere else and resell them at 10x what we bought it for. And so I was really fascinated with how, the same concept of selling drugs could be applied to this computer stuff. And so I had told my boss, RJ, I said, he was a good guy. It was a good work environment, really laid back. He took us out to lunch every day at, wherever, Jason's Deli or something. And one time we were out to lunch, I told him, I'd like to, do this on my own. I had 40, 50 grand saved up. I had it invested in stocks. Like I said, didn't really need this job. And I told him, hey man, I'd like to do this on my own. I'd love for you to be my mentor, or I don't remember my exact pitch to him or what I said, but anyways, a week and a half later, I got fired. And it was at that time where I just said, yeah, fuck all this. I'm not going back and getting another job. I don't need these low paying, crappy jobs anyways. I'm just going to go just do my own thing. My rent at the time was like $600. I didn't really have any responsibilities. I could do whatever I wanted. I had cash saved up. I was ready to, go off and never look back on these bad jobs. So that's when I decided, done enough research. I'm in a good enough spot. At this time, I'd been sober for 2.5, 3 years or so. So I was in a good place mentally and spiritually and physically, and my life had substantially improved from when I first got sober. And so that's at the time when I decided to go out and just do my own thing. And what I did was I did attempt to do the electronic stuff. You have to have a good supplier for these things, for the just like with drugs or with anything else. You had to have a good supplier to get these pallets of electronics, and I could never get his source of where he bought these things from. Even when they came in via the pallet, the shipping labels and all that stuff, to my knowledge, because I checked, it didn't have, where he was buying these from. And so I struggled on that part, and that's, it's a good thing he fired me. I mean, I would have then started bidding against him for these pallets and things, but, bought some crap off, Facebook Marketplace and things like that, and was researching and going to these warehouses and, going to other people and researching things. And had I stuck with it and pursued it further, just like with real estate or anything else, I would have for sure found success in it. But in the middle of me kind of going down that path, a friend of mine who I had gotten sober with and lived in sober living with approached me, and we had discussed opening up a business in the recovery industry, which is, peer recovery support coaching and interventions, and treatment centers will pay you to do transports of their clients to make sure they get where they need to go from, home to detox, or from detox to treatment, or wherever. And so we did that. We had a lot of connections in that industry. We knew everybody. All of our friends who we had gotten sober with worked at all these places. And so it made sense to pursue that versus continue to pursue the electronic stuff. And we did. And we were pretty successful. That business and partnership didn't continue, but it was a successful business in terms of profitability and going from zero to making more money than I had ever had before. And it was a success, but the partnership didn't continue. And so anyways, from there is, the rest of the story. But going back to the question of when was the right time. Yeah, I mean, I always knew. When did I know it was the right time to become a full-time entrepreneur? I always knew. I always knew that I was not going to do this bullshit, and I was not going to do what society wanted me to do, and I was not going to go to college and get a full-time job and do this for the rest of my life and, wait till I'm 65 to retire. And I always knew I wasn't going to do those things. I always hated having a job. Even when I was sober, I mean, I was for sure, one of the best employees at all these places because I always had a good attitude. I showed up to work every single day. I showed up early every single day. I would go above and beyond. I would do things that, wasn't required of my position. But I was a bad employee in the sense because I definitely wasn't going to stick around and I didn't want to do those things. But I always had a good attitude and showed up every single day. But when I had those jobs, I knew that this was just a stepping stone for me. And I was really just figuring out my life in a sense. So I always knew that I was gonna do my own thing, have my own businesses, make money my own way. And really it stems from a core desire to never be told by anybody what to do or how I can do it. I always want to do things on my terms, and that'll probably never change. But I've known that from day one when I was a little kid. I've always hated being told what to do. And so from that moment is when I knew that I was always going to do my own thing. She asked me, if someone's in college or has a 9-to-5 or is in a career, but they want to be an entrepreneur, what are some actionable steps? I really think it it relates back to this like primal desire that you may or may not have. Having a job is not a bad thing. Having a job is a good thing. I don't think that having a job is not a good thing for everybody. I just know for me that I just have this deep desire within inside me to not be told what to do and to not, live life on somebody else's terms. And I'd rather die than live life that way. If you have that desire, there's not much I need to tell you, right? It's burning inside of you. It kills you every second of every day to go to this pointless job that you don't care about, that's not paying you enough money, that you hate your boss. If you're like me and you have that feeling deep down inside, and that desire to not live life that way, then there's not much I need to tell you. Those people are going to figure it out. And it's that desire that drives the action that's required to push it through. Like, I'm absolutely obsessed with what we do, and I'm obsessed with accomplishing my goals, and I'm obsessed with pushing things forward and never, ever being in a place where I have to do what's, somebody else is requiring of me. And it's that drives the action. So I would first ask myself, do I really want to do this? Or am I happy just working this job? Maybe you don't like your job. That's okay. I'm sure most people don't. But just ask yourself, do I really want to live life this way? Because honestly, my life's probably harder that I choose to live this way versus, going to a job that has security. But to me, the reward of doing it on my own terms is better than the security. So my life, my stress, fluctuations of business, I'm always the last one to get paid. So is Matt. We always get paid last. Everybody else gets paid first. We are lowest on the totem pole in terms of importance of financial security. It always goes to this office, this studio, you watching this, paying for this so that you can see it. All of our staff and employees and partners and whatever it is, the banks, everybody has a higher priority of payment than we do. We always get paid last. It's pretty stressful. We go through these fluctuations. When it comes down to it, we're the ones who make the sacrifices. We're the ones who are taking the risk. We're the ones who are putting our ass on the line. And so maybe you don't want to do that. And if you don't want to do that, then that's fine. You don't have to do that. It's definitely not for everybody. But the question was, what would my advice be? And my advice would be to really decide if that's what you want to do. I've known this since I was a little kid. Like I told y'all earlier, when Kat told me to repeat the question, instantly there's this thing inside of me that just hates somebody telling me what to do. It's a reflex reaction. It, makes my blood boil. I don't like it. And so I've known that since I was a little kid, and that's what's driven me to do all these things is I'll be the one to tell me what to do. I'll be the one who says I can or can't do things. I'll be the one who dictates how my life looks. Nobody else is going to dictate it for me. And so that is what has driven me to do what we do, and what will always drive me to do what we do is that deep desire. So ask yourself if that's true for you. And if it's not true for you and you prefer the security and you prefer having that and not taking on all this stress and responsibility, then you probably shouldn't do it. And maybe you're just not happy with your job. There's plenty of jobs out there. Just go find another job. I tell people, that I love this often. Like, losing a job is not that big of a deal. There's plenty of jobs out there. Go find another one. Go find one that you're happy with. I don't know what people are so scared about with this pursuit of, finding what they want to do or finding what they're happy doing. But that would be my advice, is just really, really decide if you want to live life this way, because in all probability, it's probably not for you and you probably won't enjoy it. So that's it for today. That's the end of the Real Entrepreneur podcast, January 12th, 2024. 2024 is going to be a big year for real estate for us. We're looking for more investors. We're looking for more partners. We're looking at buying bigger and better deals. We got a lot of stuff coming up. This behind me, the Wholesale and Jumpstart Bootcamp. We're doing a lot on the marketing side. We're excited to try out this new podcast. I'm very excited that we have new podcast mic stands. I complained in the last episode. Glad we got that fixed. It's going to be a good year. Reach out if you need anything, and we'll see you next time.